Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film a very exciting video. This will be the announcement video for the titles for the 2025 Book Naturalist Book Club. So the Book Naturalist Book Club is a club that I run with my friend Doris from Aldi Books, and for the last 5 years, yes, this is our 5th anniversary, we have been picking a book every month to read in the nature writing genre. And it's been super fun. It's introduced us to tons of great new books to read, and everybody seems to really enjoy reading along with us. So we are going to continue in 2025. And because it's our 5-year anniversary, we have decided to go with rereads this year. So these are books that we've either read in the past with the book club or we've read on our own individually, and they're just books that are favorites of ours that are in the nature writing genre. So I'll go through the list here, and then I will leave in the description box down below a list of all the titles and what month we'll be reading them in so that you can read along with us if you would like to, and we certainly encourage you to do so. So let's just get into it, shall we? I will also point out it's snowing outside. Got my Christmas tree in the background, so it's December in Maine, and that's where we're at. So let's get into the books. In January, we are going to reread World of Wonders, In Praise of Fireflies, Whale Sharks, and Other Astonishments by Aimee Nezhukumatathil. This is one of the very first books, if not the first book we ever read for book club. And it's a collection of essays all about the wonders of the natural world. It's really beautiful. It has lovely, if you get the paper edition, I think this has really awesome illustrations. So yeah, what's not to love about World of Wonders? In February, we're going to read Spillover by David Quammen. This is a book that's about how zoonotic diseases pass from animals to humans. And it was written several years ago, so before the COVID pandemic, but it definitely will provide a lot of information that might be helpful to you in understanding how diseases pass from animals to human. David Quammen is an excellent science writer, and he really is able to bring topics to life, and I think he writes in a very clear way for the for the layperson, for the public. So that will be February. In March, we will be reading The Forest Unseen, A Year's Watch in Nature by David George Haskell, one of my very favorite books of nature writing of all time. In this book, David Haskell, who is a scientist, studies a 1 square meter plot of the forest in his backyard. So every day he goes out and looks at different aspects of this 1 square meter in the forest, whether it's the leaf litter, whether it's the canopy, whether it's the animals that pass through or the insects that pass through. He uses that 1 meter square plot as a lens to talk about forest ecology as a whole. And it's absolutely amazing. His writing is so beautiful. This is just such a great book. I'm so excited to reread it. In April, we will be reading Fathoms, The World in the Whale by Rebecca Giggs. And this is a book all about whales and ocean life and the intersection between the ecology of whales and human development, human use of the ocean, and what that means for whales and marine mammals in general. Again, just really well written. This is more of a... I think Greg Giggs, if I remember, is a journalist, so it reads that way, and I thought it was really, really well done. And I love reading about whales, so what's not to love about that? In May, another favorite, of course, all of these are favorites. We are going to be rereading Sea People: The Puzzle of Polynesia by Christina Thompson. This book is so fabulous. This talks about the history and what we now know about how early peoples traveled throughout the oceans before, modern technology, and how scientists think they know that people from the Asian continent traveled throughout the Pacific to far-flung islands across the Pacific. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating, and how the science and the technology that we now have that allows us to understand things that happened way, way back in time, and how people moved around in the ocean in dugout canoes and other craft that, you might think would not be able to make such long ocean voyages. It's really fascinating. Talks a lot about ocean currents and ocean weather patterns that influenced how people were able to navigate without the use of what we would consider essential navigational instruments. So that will be in May. And then in June, we will be reading a book that's new to me. So a book that I have not yet read, but is one of Doris's favorites. So I'm excited to finally read it. It's A Sting in the Tail by David Goulson. David Goulson is a ecologist that writes about insects, and this one is particularly about bees, I believe. And I've only read one other book by David Goulson and really enjoyed it, so I'm excited to finally get to the one that Doris loves the most, and also to read more of Goulson's writing because I think he's really fantastic. In July, we will be reading I Contain Multitudes, The Microbes Within Us, and a Grander View of Life by Ed Yong. I read An Immense World by Ed Yong last year, and I read I Contain Multitudes several years ago, and he is a fabulous writer of science nonfiction. And this book, I Contain Multitudes, which is about the microbes within us, blew my mind wide open. Like, I did not necessarily think I was interested in microbes in the body, but the way Ed Yong writes about it, it makes it highly dramatized, very interesting, really accessible. So excited to reread that one. And then in August, we will be reading The Invention of Nature, Alexander von Humboldt's New World by Andrea Wulf. This is all about Alexander von Humboldt and how he basically first came up with the environmentalist movement, and how, theory of interconnectedness of all things in nature really stems from his work, understanding different biomes and how different aspects of the natural world connect together and are interlinked. Just really fascinating and just endlessly interesting. I mean, you can tell by how many tabs I have in here. Like, I just found this completely fascinating, and I'm really excited to revisit this one. We're going to revisit this in August. In September, we will be reading Eating to Extinction by Dan Saladino. I first read this one for the BookTube Prize, I believe. Did I read it? No, it must have been in 2023. So that one is about the food systems and how humans have changed food over time. We've changed what we eat. We've changed the nature of the food system, and goes into depth about how some areas of the world, it's kind of written in essay form, where each chapter is about a different part of the world and how people are attempting to continue to grow species that have been eaten, over long periods of time and are maybe at the brink of extinction. And that was really fascinating to me as well. So that one's about food systems and food that might be going extinct because of the human tendency to grow food on an industrial level in a monoculture type way and just pick one species to focus on for growing for agriculture, and then sort of just letting everything else die out. Very fascinating. Then in October, one of my very favorite books of all time, we are going to reread Lab Girl by Hope Jahren. This is Hope Jaren's memoir of being a woman in the sciences, what it was like to try to start her own lab. She studies plants and forests type things, and when she was coming up through doing her undergraduate and her graduate work, and then wanting to get started with research of her own in her own lab, that just wasn't common, and she encounters a lot of obstacles. And this also about her relationship with her lab partner, her friend. I don't remember his name. Does it say his name? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But her friend, and how instrumental their friendship is towards her success in her lab. And it's really awesome to see a book that talks about a non-romantic friendship between a guy and a woman, man and a woman, and how important that is to her, overall life path, without it, messing things up for her. So yeah, that's another aspect of this besides the science and besides the, you know, the story of a woman in STEM that I found really great. Then in November, another classic and wonderful book. We're going to reread Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants by Robin Wall Kimmerer. This book is amazing. Robin Wall Kimmerer is a just incredible human being. She is an Indigenous writer. She's an Indigenous scientist. And so she comes at science from, you know, her training in the Western ways of knowing and then her culture of Indigenous ways of knowing. And she bridges that gap between those two systems in just the most fundamentally important way. And I think that the things that she has to teach us in this book are absolutely essential. And the way she writes about them and the way she weaves in stories of her life and raising a family and motherhood and all that sort of stuff, just it's so impactful and so beautifully written and so well done. Just an amazing, amazing book. I'm so excited that we're going to be reading that one in November. And then finally in December of 2025, we will be reading The Sixth Extinction, An Unnatural History by Elizabeth Colbert. I love Elizabeth Colbert's writing. I first read this one many years ago now. I can't remember. Let's see what the publication date is for this one because I read it when it first was published. 2014. So yeah, it's been about a decade probably since I read this. And this goes through 6 periods of extinction in the history of our planet and how the 6th extinction is basically current times. How human influence is causing, it's the Anthropocene. We're causing extinctions on a massive scale due to our use of the planet. And yeah, just really fascinating stuff. Also, you know, a little bit scary, but also I think it's just information that people should know. Again, Elizabeth Colbert, excellent science writer, like makes things accessible and interesting and just keeps you wanting to turn the pages. So this is what we'll be reading in December. That is the books. Like I said, I will put the written list down in the description box below. I hope that you will join us for one or all of these reads. I am super looking forward to all of them. I hope you are too. Please leave me a comment down below and tell me what one are you most interested in reading or most excited to get into. I would love to know. Hope you're all doing well and finding some great books to read. I will talk to you later.